Let me know if you see a pattern. Thor Love and Thunder.
What?
Doctor Strange 2.
What?
Shang-Chi.
Hold up.
The Eternals.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
The Marvels.
We suck again!
And now the Fantastic Four. A movie that started out with such promise in week 1
It's true.
has collapsed 80% in week 2.
Brilliant!
But what did they all have in common? They all went woke,
That is true.
and in Fantastic Four's case, is going broke.
That is also true.
I'm Jasper Gonzo on this, but remember kids, it's your fault.
Yes, of course.
You're to blame for not supporting the studios.
What?
And not the agenda that's being pushed. You know, the message.
Fuck off.
And that's what's next. What's up, everyone? Jasper Gonzo, what's next? Your daily dose. Hope you guys are feeling good today on this Tuesday. Well, the results are in. And one of the greatest films of our lifetime, Fantastic Four, after having a incredible, monstrous week 1, has had an even more incredible week 2 by collapsing 80%. Yikes. But we've seen this pattern before. You know, Thor, a couple of movies that I mentioned. Thor, Love and Thunder, as I like to call it, emasculated into bald. Of course, you had Doctor Strange 2, the method of some kind of madness. You had Shang-Chi and the 10 hula hoops. You had the Eternal Trash. You had the Marvels with, of course, Captain Marvel coming off the bench. And, of course, now you have the Fantastic Four with the wonderful and one of the greatest actors of our lifetime, mentioned in the same breath as Clark Gable, Cary Grant, Clint Eastwood, Steve McQueen, and Pedro Pascal. Of course, we had, Mary Sue Storm, Flaming Johnny, and of course, the most underused character in the movie who should have got more lines and was totally disrespected and trashed. That would be one Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. But what do all of these movies have in common? Great scripts? No. Great acting? Meh. Respect for source material? No. Respect for canon? No. Bad writing and don't give about the fans? Bingo. That's exactly what it is. And also, they all went woke by pushing an agenda, and they all went broke. And now Fantastic Four has joined that esteemed, level of wokeness. But it's not the studio's fault. It's yours. And here we go. This comes out of Breitbart. John Nolte, media blame everything for Marvel collapse, but the true disease, wokeness. And of course, there's Mary Sue Storm. Now that the collapse of Disney grooming syndicate Marvel brand is no longer in dispute, the far-left entertainment media continues to deceive their readers by blaming everything except who's really to blame: Marvel's lunatic embrace of the woke. Woke, of course, means that Marvel put identity politics above affecting storytelling, i.e. the message, and relatable characters. Woke cares only about pushing a left-wing propaganda message that seeks to normalize homosexuality, spread the lie that women are physically as strong as men, girl bosses are appealing, and everyone wants to talk about feminism and racisms. In short, woke is anti-merit and anti-art. True. Facts. And woke has killed the Marvel brand. The death is no longer in dispute after Fantastic Four First Steps took a deep dive at the box office this past weekend. The Marvel brand is so damaged that the legitimately good movie was profoundly anti-woke and unlikely to turn a profit, much less make $1 billion, the pre-woke Marvel once made globally on a regular basis. Yes, remember? You were like, wow, what movie's going to make $1 billion? Infinity War? Yes. Endgame? Yes. Everything after that? No. Forbes blames the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the MCU as it's really, newly retitled, collapse on too many TV and theatrical releases, on losing its core cast of heroes, casting of new ones after one-off movies, and excessive nostalgia. And that's it. The far-left rap makes a complete fool of a psychopathic self by shamelessly aping the Disney grooming syndicate excuses that blame Marvel's implosion and streaming on still yes after 5 years, the pandemic. At least I'm willing to admit that some of it played a role, but these gerbils refuse to even go near the truth. You don't think feminizing and emasculating Thor played a role? How about all that black girl magic nonsense in the Marvels? How about two hairy men necking in the Eternals? How about removing all female sex appeal in everything? How about a group hug saving the world in Thunderbolts? And also, Endgame. Remember that lovely girl boss scene? Yeah, nobody remembers that. Lesbos, gays, obnoxious and appealing girl bosses, racial sentiment, basing the virtue on characters of their skin color. Nobody wants to watch this crap anymore. This is what's known as whistling past the graveyard, and I'm all for it. If the entertainment media is so corrupted by Disney access and Disney advertising dollars, not to mention their sympathy for Disney's obnoxious politics, that they refuse to report the truth, then good. The more Disney fails, the happier normal people are. The MCU was once a universal phenomenon, something we all shared and enjoyed. That's a very special and unique thing. But instead of honoring, respecting, and being grateful to the fans who made it possible, Marvel alienated, betrayed, and insulted the fans with this woke push, and our franchise that was once infallible has delivered 6 flops out of its 7 most recent releases. Good. My thoughts. Well said by John Nolte. Yeah. They don't see the man in the mirror. That's who the blame is. The blame is the man in the mirror. And the man in the mirror is Disney, is Marvel, is the woke agenda that continues to be prevalent. DEI continues to be prevalent in that studio, in that corporation. And again, you would think after bomb, after bomb, after bomb, after bomb, after bomb, the story doesn't even mention Snow White because Snow White's not part of the Marvels, but yet it bombed. A number of Pixar movies have bombed. And yet, it's like they hate making money. They don't want to make the monies. But it's all about the monies. I'll give you a quick example. Of course, this is DC. Superman, of course, who leads the race, barely at this point, cracked the 500 million mark. Everybody's wonderful. Everybody's doing handstands. They're doing cartwheels in the streets and celebrating like they hit the lottery. No, the movie now just breaks even regarding its production costs. They still have $175 million to make up for the advertising. That is pushing close to $700 million. Now, to actually make a real profit, they're going to have to hit between $800 and $1 billion. And that's not going to happen. Not in this society. It's not going to happen in this, in this era of superhero, nonsensory, tired of, people are just tired of the superhero agenda, the superhero movie at this point. People need a break. So here comes Spider-Man. He's got a new suit, Spider-Man New Day. Everybody's excited. Wow, suit's nostalgic. It takes us back to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, okay. But Spider-Man is the exception. All the No Way, all the Homecoming and No Way Homes and No Way Out and what have you. All those movies, No Way Out, really, they were great. Why? Because they were a Sony/Marvel production, and not a Disney/Marvel production. Because if it was a Disney Marvel production, those movies would have cratered. They would all bombed. No Way Out cracked over $1 billion. Why? Because it was Spider-Man and it was nostalgic and you brought the old gang back together again. That's exactly what made it great. Now they're going to, quote, reset. Don't know what that means. We'll find out. But anyway, back to the aforementioned Marvel movies. They don't care about source material. Never have. They don't care about canon. Never have. It's all about the agenda. It's all about pushing, to quote the drinker, the critical drinker again, the message. And that's exactly what it is. Indoctrination, nonsensory garbage, pushing, black girl magic, girl bosses, wimpy men, all that nonsense. And yet, again, like I go back to my first thought, it's like they hate making money because it does. Companies don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a fuck about you, the fans, me, the fans. They don't care about that. They don't care about those who buy the merch, those who buy the comic books. They don't care. It's about pushing the agenda. As long as the agenda is being pushed, they don't give two. And that's Disney Marvel in a nutshell. And they're going to continue to suffer. And I hope they do. I hope they collapse. I hope they go out of business. Those will truly be the glory days. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Borganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. Continue spreading the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching as always. And we'll see you next time. Peace.